Hi guys, you might remember this candle scene from 1,000 years. So in today's video, we are gonna recreate it in Blender. So let's begin. So this is what our basic layout of the scene looks like. Uh, in the rendered view, it, you might add different textures to the ground, like for example a marble texture kind of thing, or you could go with the basic wood material. You could obviously add gloss to it. So let's start creating. I've opened a new scene here. We'll start it by deleting our good old friend, the default cube, and I'll add the screencast keys just in case. Now let's add a plane and scale it by 8 on both the axes. Now add a cylinder and scale it in the Z axis. Align it on the plane. Press Shift Z to scale it just in the X and Y axis. This looks perfect. And duplicate the cylinder and hide it. Let's just rename the base, rename the objects. And jump into edit mode. Delete the top face. Add solidify modifier to our cylinder. Tweak the values just a bit. Yes. And just apply the modifier to it. And apply the scale to our cylinder. Select all the edges by pressing Alt and clicking on one of the edges. And bevel these edges. Add some segments to it. Now let's just unhide the previous cylinder and name it as candle. Tweak its values to fit it inside the holder, and maybe even scale it on the Z axis just to make it a bit taller than our uh, holder. Right about here. Yeah. Now we'll add a simple Bezier curve to our scene. Grab in the Z axis. This will make the wick part of our candle. Scale it and place it on the top of our candle. You could leave the curve as it is, or you could edit its shape in the edit mode, like so. I'll just keep it as it is and go in the properties of this Bezier curve. Make sure 3D is selected and click on the geometry section. Just give it a depth of maybe 0.06 or 0.05 is better, just to give it a third dimensional look. And make it a bit smaller. Right about here seems perfect. So now let's just add an icosphere to our scene. Scale it down and place it right above the wick of our candle. This will make up the flame part of our candle. Maybe even rename it. Yes. Now jump into edit mode and click on subdivide for the icosphere. Smoothness 1 and number of cuts 2, or you could also leave it as 1. Now let's just jump into sculpting. We do just basic sculpting, nothing very advanced. Let's just select this elastic deform brush and pull this up from the top. Just stretch it a bit, and about here is okay. You could even tweak it in the edit mode if you wish to. Let's just leave it as it is for now. Maybe I'll just edit the curve a bit. Yes. Maybe take the flame a bit closer to our candle. It looks pretty weird. And at this point, you could save your scene. I'll do it right away. Shade the flame as smooth, and let's just add a bit of detail to our scene. Select our candle and jump into edit mode. Select the top face and click on eye to inset it just a bit, and grab it in the Z axis. And just extrude it in the Z axis. Not much, just a bit. Not in the X, in the Z axis, sorry for that. Then click these edges and bevel them. Yeah, before that, don't forget to add scale, apply scale, and bevel those edges. Right about there. Let's unhide the glass holder and tab into edit mode. Now we'll add a loop on the holder by pressing Ctrl R. Select the bottom edges and scale them in the X and Y axis by pressing Shift Z. Right about here looks perfect. And then maybe even bevel these edges to make it kind of smooth. Looks about perfect. Now let's jump into the material part. Now shade smooth this holder and also click on auto smooth. Now it gets pretty smooth for the holder. Do the same for our candle as well. Nice. Now the material for our holder is the easiest, so let's start with it. Go in the shading property or the material property of our holder. Click on new, surface, and glass. Let's jump to the material preview. Roughness as 0. Nice. And to check the render view, go into the render tab and don't forget to switch to cycles. Let's just add an area light here. It will also make it more brighter. Perfect. Just a side note here, you could leave it as shade flat. Even that gives a bit of a distinctive look to our holder. Or you could just shade smooth it. Now let's texture our wick. Select the wick, go in material preview, and create a new material. Darken the base color and just add roughness to it. Nothing much. And here is our wick texture. Let's just rename it. Also the holder. Yeah. Now let's texture our candle. Make a new material. Rename it. Darken the base color a bit and add roughness to it. Around this would be great. Nothing much, just basic textures. And now let's jump on to the flame. Before starting anything, I'm just gonna tweak its dimensions a bit. Yes, great. And let's just apply its scale. That won't mess up anything with our materials. Jump into the shading tab and create new material. Name it as flame matte maybe. And delete the principled BSDF. Let's just add an emission shader to it and connect it to the surface. Now let's just increase the strength a bit and you might see that it gives a glow to it. Now we'll have to uh, kind of gradient color it a bit, and for that we'll just find the colors from a candle flame in. And for finding colors, this website is the best, color.adobe.com. Just click on explore and type flame in here. You'll get a ton of color schemes. I prefer this scheme because it kind of gives the basic colors of a real flame. Now add a color ramp in here. Yes. And connect these nodes. Click on the plus sign to add one more slider in it and paste those four colors respectively in each of this slider. Click on the slider, click on the hex value and paste the color. After pasting all those colors, your slider will look like this. Now change linear to ease and tweak the color ramp a bit right about here. Now add a gradient texture to it. Gradient. Control T and make sure Node Wrangler add-on is turned on. Then connect the object to vector and color to factor. Change linear to spherical, and as you can see it has already changed a bit. And keep the strength at 10.3. Nice. Tweak these values until you get like a shade of it right here at the bottom. And a flame, as you may know, is not entirely opaque. So we'll just add a class BSDF right here, and it gives transparency to our flame. But it swaps our emission shader, and for that we'll have to add a mix shader. This mix shader will basically take both the inputs and make it one entire single input. Now to change this factor according to a certain pattern, we'll add a color ramp and a layer weight node. So connect the Fresnel to factor of the color ramp. Just, yeah, and connect the color of color ramp to the factor of our mix shader right here, and just tweak the values of our color ramp until you are satisfied. And in this case, the outer part of our candle gets whole glassy, and the inner part kind of gets that gradient look. So in this case, we want the vice versa. So click on this little drop down and flip color ramp. Now, yeah, that is how you will get a perfect shader for it. Nice. You might also play with the roughness of our glass. Maybe not a lot, but just tweak it a bit. Let's just keep the roughness as 0.228 and connect the factor of this gradient texture to the factor of our color ramp and tweak these values a bit, just so that a blue color comes into the picture. And yes, let's just check the rendered preview of it. It seems kinda nice till now. Right, just save the scene.